As of June 2026, if you travel to the sprawling emerald green countryside of Somerset, England, you will find an 850-acre historic estate. Inside its heavily guarded gates lives a man who recently signed a $20 million fragrance contract with Christian Dior, directed Hollywood legend Al Pacino in a critically acclaimed feature film, and just booked a massive studio return opposite Penelope Cruz. His estimated net worth hovers at an untouchable $150 million. He is celebrated, he is employed, he is forgiven. But if you board a flight to Madrid, Spain, and walk through the quiet, sun-drenched streets of a residential neighborhood, you might pass a woman wearing dark sunglasses and a pulled-down baseball cap pushing a stroller. She speaks fluent Spanish with a local accent. Her neighbors do not know her as a Hollywood superstar. Her landlord knows her as Martha Jane Cannary. She is a single mother raising 3 children under the age of 5. Her estimated net worth has flatlined at $500,000. She has 0 active studio contracts. Exactly 4 years ago, these 2 individuals sat mere feet apart inside a heavily televised Virginia courtroom, locked in the most brutal, highly consumed legal deathmatch in the history of pop culture. Today, they exist in entirely different universes. The man who lost everything got it all back. The woman who stood defiant on national television has been completely, systematically erased. This is not a simple "where are they now" recap. This is a forensic cinematic dissection of a total Hollywood annihilation. From the precise moment the gavel fell in the summer of 2022 to the deafening silence of 2026, you are about to witness the exact mechanics of how a billion-dollar franchise star lost 95% of her wealth, abandoned her native country, changed her identity, and learned a brutal lesson about the absolute cost of speaking out. The origin of this exile begins in the immediate blinding aftermath of the June 1st, 2022 verdict. When the 7-person jury in Fairfax County ruled that Amber Heard had defamed Johnny Depp with actual malice, they didn't just hand him a legal victory, they handed him a financial guillotine. Depp was awarded $10.35 million. Heard was awarded $2 million in compensatory damages. The net result was a catastrophic $8.35 million debt hanging over the neck of an actress whose career was already hemorrhaging. Just 2 weeks after the verdict, Amber Heard sat down with Savannah Guthrie on NBC's Today Show for a primetime high-stakes interview. It was her one massive attempt to reclaim the narrative. Looking directly into the camera, she delivered a line designed to echo through history. "Till my dying day, I'll stand by every word of my testimony." So, it was a declaration of absolute unyielding defiance. She was ready to fight the appeal. She was ready to wage war in the press. But Hollywood does not run on moral declarations. It runs on accounting. And the math was about to crush her. By December 2022, the defiance violently collapsed. The brutal reality of mounting legal fees, which had already crossed an estimated $6 million across 2 continents, forced her hand. She abruptly dropped her appeal and settled with Depp for a flat $1 million, a sum paid not out of her own dwindling bank account but by her insurance company. In a final lethal PR checkmate, Depp immediately took her $1 million and divided it equally among 5 different charities. He didn't need her money. He only needed her surrender. To understand the absolute devastation of Amber Heard's financial reality in 2026, you have to look at the sworn unredacted numbers from her peak. Between 2013 and 2019, she testified to grossing roughly $10 million from films, television series, and lucrative brand endorsements. In 2019 alone, she pulled in nearly $3 million. Warner Brothers had paid her $1 million for the first Aquaman and guaranteed her $2 million for the sequel, with a third film slated to bump her quote to $4 million. She was pulling in $200,000 per episode for the television adaptation of The Stand. Before the legal inferno, her estimated peak net worth was a highly comfortable $11 million. Today, financial analytics firms place her net worth at a devastating $500,000. Even the most generous estimates, factoring in residual social media sponsorships, cap her at $3 million. Where did a 95% wealth collapse actually go? The court records trace the bleeding. Of the highly publicized $3.5 million pledge she made to the ACLU from her original divorce settlement, only $1.3 million was ever actually received by the organization, and of that sum, only a staggering $350,000 came directly from Amber's own pockets. A $500,000 payment was funneled through a Vanguard fund courtesy of billionaire Elon Musk, and bizarrely, $100,000 was paid by Johnny Depp himself. When the ACLU's chief operating officer, Terrence Doherty, was forced to testify about the missing millions, he revealed that Heard had stopped paying in 2018, citing exactly two words: financial difficulties. And this was years before the Virginia trial even began. She was bleeding cash before the cameras ever turned on. The algorithm didn't just mock her, it actively monetized her bankruptcy, with her bank accounts drained and her public image violently dismantled by a relentless, highly profitable TikTok meme machine. Amber Heard executed the only move she had left: absolute retreat. Within months of the Guthrie interview, she quietly sold her desert sanctuary in Yucca Valley, California for $1.05 million. She didn't relocate to New York. She didn't retreat to a quiet Canadian suburb. She abandoned the United States of America entirely. She fled first to the island of Majorca and eventually settled in a quiet upscale neighborhood in Madrid. But she did not move as Amber Heard. The woman renting the Spanish apartment signed her leases under the name Martha Jane Cannary. This pseudonym was not pulled out of thin air. Martha Jane Cannary was the real birth name of Calamity Jane, the legendary rough-riding, hard-drinking 19th century American frontierswoman. Calamity Jane was a woman who survived in a brutal, male-dominated Wild West, constantly misunderstood, deeply polarizing, and completely unbothered by polite society's expectations. Amber Heard did not pick that name by accident. She adopted the identity of a woman who survived the wilderness when civilization completely rejected her. A name is not just a label, it is a psychological shield. And in the ashes of 2022, Amber Heard realized her given name was no longer a shield, it was a target painted directly on her back. In Madrid, she completely assimilated. She walked her daughter Una to school every single morning. She mastered the Spanish language, adopting the distinct local Madrid lilt. When a Daily Mail paparazzi crew finally tracked her down on a Spanish sidewalk in September 2024, they expected the fiery, combative woman from the NBC interview. Instead, they found a quiet, guarded expatriate. "I'm living here in Madrid. I love spa," she said in measured English. When pressed about her Hollywood past, her response was a chilling departure from her previous bravado. "Regarding my past, I don't feel like thinking or talking about it because I'm happy and in peace." The woman who promised to stand by her words to her dying day no longer wanted to speak at all. She hadn't just moved countries, she had surrendered the microphone. And she had to surrender the microphone because the Hollywood machine had already violently turned its back on her. If her financial ruin was a slow bleed, her career assassination was a public execution. In December 2023, Warner Brothers released Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Amber Heard's character, Mara, the female lead of a billion-dollar property, was ruthlessly butchered in the editing room. Her screen time was slashed to a humiliating 20 minutes. Variety reported that multiple major sequences, including a massive action set piece against the villain Black Manta and a crucial intimate scene with Jason Momoa's title character, were entirely deleted during extensive reshoots. Veteran actor Dolph Lundgren, who played her on-screen father, publicly confirmed the sabotage, calling it a cold corporate decision to appease the online mob. But the betrayal was not just corporate, it was deeply personal. Industry reports leaked that Jason Momoa actively pushed for her termination from the film, citing a catastrophic lack of chemistry, and allegedly went as far as blocking her on Instagram during production. The studio system did not fire her, they humiliated her, leaving just enough of her in the film to fulfill her contract while stripping away her dignity. Her only attempt at a post-trial cinematic comeback was a small independent Italian-American co-production titled In the Fire, which she personally produced in a desperate bid to maintain creative control. Released in late 2023, it was a catastrophic failure. It scored a dismal 21% on Rotten Tomatoes with an abysmal 4.3 out of 10 average rating. CNN dismissed it as a pretty awful starring vehicle. But it received zero meaningful theatrical distribution and was quietly dumped onto streaming platforms. During the promotional tour at a film festival in Sicily in June 2023, she gave her only English-language print interview in a 4-year span to Deadline. She arrived wearing a thick orthopedic brace on her wrist, an injury sustained not on an action movie set, but from tripping over her toddler's stepping stool in her home. Shielded by an aggressive PR team that physically blocked video cameras, she offered a desperate plea. "I just want to make movies and be appreciated as an actress. I don't want to have to be crucified to be appreciated as one." But Hollywood is a church that demands a crucifixion before it grants a resurrection, and the industry had already chosen its martyr. While Amber Heard was tripping over children's toys in a rented flat and begging not to be crucified, Johnny Depp was being elevated to absolute sainthood. The contrast of their 2026 realities is so deeply polarized it defies fiction. In 2024, Depp stepped behind the camera to direct Modi, 3 Days on the Wing of Madness, securing the legendary Al Pacino as his star. The film was met with standing ovations and genuine critical praise. Christian Dior, rather than dropping him during the controversy, doubled down, signing him to a staggering $20 million contract extension, the largest men's fragrance deal in history. In October 2024, he walked the red carpet at the Rome Film Festival to accept a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award. By 2026, the final wall of his cancellation collapsed when Lionsgate announced he would star opposite Penelope Cruz in the massive Hollywood studio thriller Day Drinker. In a sprawling, highly sympathetic profile with the Sunday Times, in the summer of 2025, Depp casually referred to himself as the crash test dummy for the Me Too movement. He successfully positioned himself as the survivor. He named the industry executives who wronged him. He flaunted his wealth. He reclaimed his throne. He was a crash test dummy who survived the wall. She was the car that got permanently crushed. In 2026, major Hollywood studios are actively rolling out the red carpet for men who were canceled during the height of the Me Too era. The industry has decided that male redemption is a highly profitable narrative. But Amber Heard's name attached to any project is still treated as a radioactive marketing liability. The 300-to-1 wealth gap between them is not just a difference in bank accounts. It is a mathematical representation of how society punishes women who break the rules versus men who break the furniture. Stripped of her career, her fortune, and her industry, Amber Heard pivoted to the only role the world could not fire her from: motherhood. And this is where the story takes its most profound and secretive turn. Long before the trial in April 2021, she welcomed her first daughter, Una Paige Heard, via surrogate, declaring on Instagram that she was doing it entirely on her own terms. She never named a father. Then, on Mother's Day in May 2025, she shattered her own media silence with a shocking Instagram post. It was a simple photograph of 2 tiny sets of feet wrapped in a white hospital towel. She announced the arrival of twins, a daughter named Agnes and a son named Ocean, also born via surrogate. She wrote about her grueling fertility challenges and called becoming a solo mother the most humbling experience of my life. As of 2026, the former face of a superhero franchise is a single mother raising 3 children under the age of 5 in a foreign country with absolutely no publicly identified partner or father. Back in 2022, when Savannah Guthrie asked her what she planned to do after the trial, Heard replied, "I get to be a mom. I get to be a mom full-time." It is the only promise she made on national television that she actually kept. Her professional life in 2026 is a ghost town of micro projects, In the summer of 2025, she quietly debuted in a bilingual stage play called Spirit of the People at a regional theater festival in rural Massachusetts. The 39-year-old actress, who once commanded international box offices, was performing in a wooden barn to a few hundred people. Vanity Fair called her performance eloquent and beautiful, but it was a blip on the cultural radar. The definitive closing chapter of her downfall arrived in January 2026. Appearing in a Sundance documentary titled Silenced, directed by Selena Miles, and produced by human rights lawyer Jennifer Robinson. Amber Heard finally articulated the ultimate lesson of her exile. Looking at the camera, she explained exactly why she vanished from the press after the Virginia verdict. "I didn't understand it could get so much worse for me as a woman using my voice." That single sentence is the absolute devastating core of this entire saga. Look at the tragic 4-year psychological arc. June 2022. Till my dying day, I'll stand by every word. January 2026. I didn't understand it could get so much worse. That is not the evolution of a woman who healed in the Spanish Sun. That is the psychological conditioning of a woman who was brutally taught over and over again that every single time she opened her mouth, the world would punish her, bankrupt her, and erase her. She didn't choose silence because she found peace. She chose silence because she could no longer afford the price of her own voice. As we look at the absolute destruction of Amber Heard and the triumphant multi-million-dollar resurrection of Johnny Depp, in 2026, we are forced to look at the ugly machinery of our own entertainment consumption. We turned a harrowing domestic dispute into a heavily monetized spectator sport, feeding an algorithm that rewarded cruelty with viral fame. We cheered for the gladiator, and we actively paid to watch the execution. Now look beyond the TikTok memes and the hashtag campaigns and ask yourself a deeply uncomfortable question. In an industry that is currently spending hundreds of millions of dollars to rehabilitate the careers of controversial men, is there any universe where Hollywood ever allows Amber Heard to step back into the light? Can a woman who was turned into the internet's ultimate villain ever write a second act? Or is the apartment in Madrid her permanent, inescapable prison? Drop your most honest, unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. Let us know if you believe the punishment finally fits the crime, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another cinematic deep dive into the brutal reality behind the Hollywood illusion.